iced coffee.
Do you have any thoughts on OpenAI's GPT-3?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for your question. So I've been, following this space for a long time. I was a chatbot programmer a long time ago, using AOL Instant Messenger. So I've been writing chatbots my whole life. Obviously, this stuff is transformative and revolutionary. I've written on my prison blog, I wrote a lot about how I think this technology eventually will be able to create animations, film, music. I think that within 10 years, the Billboard list will be a lot of GPT written songs. Maybe not exactly GPT-3, but some successor to it. I think the New York Times bestseller list will have a GPT-3 based book on it. I think that we're going to see an AGI at some point too. I'm part of this group that is sort of encouraging an AGI, which was sort of a rival to Sam Bankman's group, which is encouraging slowing down artificial intelligence. So I think there's sort of a lot of interesting things to talk about with AI, but it's obviously a fascinating space, and it's a future we can't avoid.
Do you think the transformer architecture is the right one for AGI, or do you think something big is going to have to change?
Oh, really good question. I wanted to just quickly answer one other question, then I'll touch on that in a second. So one person from YouTube asks, you were working on Goodell pre-prison. Has the scope of the project developed since then? So not really. I think that in a lot of ways, like financial information on the web is still really difficult to get. For example, I would ask you to try to find a bond price in Yahoo Finance, or try to experience Yahoo Finance without ads. It's basically impossible. I mean, it's such a mess. You can Google a stock price. I do that myself every day. So if I'm interested in the stock price of a company, I can just Google it, which is great. But if you do anything beyond that, the internet's a pretty awful place right now to get financial information. And that hasn't changed much since prior to prison. So in fact, it hasn't really been changed for a long time. So in terms of AI and architecture and things like that, I mean, I think that we just don't know, right? I mean, I think that the transformers seem to have some limitation in what they can learn, although they certainly have learned a lot more than kind of we expected, and that's why it's so surprising and so revolutionary. But I do think AGI might seem to require a new system. But again, I'm deep in speculative territory here. I mean, I'm not an AI expert. I don't have an AI startup. I'm not, an AI person. Somebody's asking, are you back on Twitter? No, I'm still banned from Twitter. Somebody asked, have you tried Koifin? Yes, I have. It's very limited software. It's very marginal software, in my opinion. What industry will the world's first trillionaire be in? Good question. I don't know. I could see it be software. I could see it be finance. Really don't know. Good question. Hey Ernie, how are you? Thanks. This Ernie was an early Godel user. I don't know why exchanges push USDT over USDC. Don't know. Don't care really. Do smart contract engineers have a good career in front of them? Probably, yeah. I think so. I'm not sure. It's hard to say. Labor markets are difficult to understand and predict. Will you post on your blog again? I'm probably I'm going to post on Substack, so you can join my Substack. I post on there every week or so. Why don't people look at option arbitrage more? I think that's for companies to do, less of people. Individual people have a hard time programming large systems. Like an options arbitrage system is pretty beastly business. What do you think of jobs in the metaverse? I think it already exist in metaverses, right? We're on YouTube right now. That's a metaverse. Discord's a metaverse. So we all use metaverses in a lot of ways. The idea of adding social to financial software is a killer feature, but the problem is existing attempts as they end up being people and bots spamming links offsite are really low value. So that's a really good point. And I think the reason Bloomberg has done really well is this very closed social network. It's basically if you can afford the $25,000 a year to buy Bloomberg, that basically you get admittance into a social network regardless. And that's sort of what Elon's doing with Twitter Blue, where you get an $8 a month check mark, and it's good revenue for the company, and it's also shows that you care enough to not sort of spam or be a bot or whatever. Now maybe Elon picked a price that's too low, but at the very high price of Bloomberg, it sort of ensures that the only people using Bloomberg are serious financial people. All right, everyone. Well, thank you. Maybe I'll take a few more questions. When are you dropping God's Gift? God's Gift is my debut rap album. It's still in production. Eventually it'll come out. I hope you enjoy it when it does. Could I see myself as a politician? No, not really. I think that's somebody else's job. I'm not selfless enough. I think the problem with politicians is that to be an effective sort of civil servant, you have to really take those two words seriously. And I think that most politicians don't. And that's why I've sort of been anti-politics. And certainly in the 2015 controversy I was embroiled in, I took a lot of sort of offense to politicians that suggested they were civil servants, but somehow also made hundreds of millions of dollars being civil servants. I think the word servant is really important. You have to serve the people, not the people and yourself, not the people 80% of the time and yourself 20% of the time, but the people all the time. And that's something that very few people want to do. I kind of think of John McCain as someone who's sort of ideal in that way. I don't necessarily agree with everything he did or all of his politics or anything like that, but in terms of the kind of guy he was, I think that's the sort of person that is somebody that took his job as a politician really seriously. But you never know what people are like behind closed doors. But I think that politicians should not be allowed to write books, is the first thing I would suggest, so that people like Bernie or people like Hillary, they should not be able to sell their time in any way, shape, or form, whether it's as a book product, a speech product, or anything like that. Because in essence, what they're doing is they're monetizing government, and I think that's really a disgusting thing. Do I think video games have declined in quality? That's a really good question. I think that, I would say no. I think they're pretty. They've sort of improved in quality. I think that we're in a golden age for video games, but we'll see that. Somebody asked me about the MSI token itself. So the MSI token was created by a third party, and I've sort of adopted it as a token I'll use in the software that I create. And I think it's really valuable to distinguish the goals of sort of the software company itself, which is to create profit and to make great software and to sort of just use the best technologies possible. To me, crypto is one of the best technologies. The question is, how to implement it. And I think crypto is a payments method, and like I said, sort of an alternative source of payments in addition to fiat is something that's really, really valuable. I don't love the speculative portion of it, but I do think it allows people to sort of use a software that they like and also sort of benefit if that software's use increases. So obviously for MSI, I hope that its value increases, and I'm going to try to use it as effectively and as much as I can in all the software I create. But ultimately, what I don't want to see happen is the speculation of something overtake the utility of something, and you can't control that because it's a market, right? But what you don't want is sort of, and this is sort of what happens in the stock market too, is you don't want your stock to sort of get ahead of itself. And people who have that problem might think, oh, my stock's so high, that's a good thing. But it really isn't, because you end up having to deliver on something that you can't deliver on. So to me, I think what's important for MSI is that it serves as a useful token to pay for software that hopefully will be really, really good.